Oh well.
And she was a banging piece.
Oh well, she died, just like the rest of us will.
Crossbowed.
On that joyful note, welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode number 12 of 2019. My name is Mr. Gareth Evans. This is Mr. Henry Cooper.
Hello. I'm just a normal guy.
You didn't live up to your intro,
I'm going for the humble angle this time. I'm not showboating. I'm just like you. When we fight,
you're like nobody. You're like nobody.
Nobody.
Else. You're trying to go for the
I'm
the personal
Jack and
personable.
Hagar. I am no one.
You're trying to get relatable for the audience, so they can back you.
Hashtag relatable.
Stick some money on you when you get in that ring with the Lehman Bros.
What's a failing currency right now? Put that on me because it's not going anywhere.
Wait till Brexit and just look in your pocket, dude. That'll be the failing currency. All right, guys, we got some gaming stuff to talk about, not just.
Oh, what? No way. Who knew?
I know. Yeah, there's a lot happening this week. There's a lot of industry trending topics, you could say.
Lots of debate.
Yeah, a mass debate. You could call this the Sunday mass debate. That's what I like to call
I did see that, and I was like, "You little dick."
We had a mass debate on Tuesday.
Especially as
we have a mass debate today.
I would have really fucking homed in on it. I would have put a hyphen in there. I would have spelled it with one S, make it super obvious. But you, I was like, mass debate. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, that's what he's done.
Right.
Oh, yeah, he hasn't milked it for all it was worth.
Oh, look at him with his subtlety.
Yeah, you just weren't impressed by my implication of it, my application.
Oh, no, I was impressed because I was like, I would have just fucking masturbate.
Lol. Yeah, you got to be subtle with it. I mean,
but people on the internet are stupid. Most people probably wouldn't have got that.
We're talking about a tweet, by the way. I just tweeted out the video on Tuesday using that term because it was a video based on a debate that we had about the Sekiro thing. We'll probably talk about that later on in the podcast. Yeah, and I used the term masturbate. Why wouldn't you? It's a debate of a mass kind.
Nothing to do with certain other practices.
Self-flagellation. Right, let's move on. First thing we've got to talk about, we've got a few things to talk about today. So just links in the description to all the timestamps as usual. We're going to talk about the Borderlands 3 thing that was announced just yesterday, as well as how that ties in with the Epic Store exclusivity and what the latest is on that, because Tim Sweeney's been saying some stuff on Twitter which contradicts what they've said recently. So we'll talk about that. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about the Anthem thing in a bit more depth. I know it's been done to death, but we'll try and move through it as quickly as possible and just give our take on it, because I know some people like to hear different takes and to make their own mind up, but we've obviously got our own thoughts and opinions, which we didn't really cover a lot in the video that we published on Wednesday. We just kind of a brief outlook of what it was.
Too much to talk about. 11,000 words in that.
We'll be dumping. We'll be dumping and jumping into a couple of the key topics that resonate with us specifically, and then we'll be moving on to the Discord questions, as well as reading some YouTube comments, which will be fun. But first, Borderlands 3 was announced to be coming on September the 13th. Now, as was leaked earlier in the week, exactly the same day, September 13th, and as was preempted by Randy Pitchford's not so elusive tweets to indicate that it was going to be an Epic Store exclusivity for 3 months. Covering. Yeah, it's covering his arse basically. Don't blame us, blame Take-Two. It's not like we give them all the publishing rights. It's not like it's our responsibility because we allowed them to be our publisher. We agreed to this deal with Take-Two and we didn't have any say in it. It's not like it's my fault at all. There's no responsibility with me at all. Come on, Randy. Come on, Randy.
I mean, he is CEO. A lot of people were like, "Oh no, it's always the publisher's fault. It's nothing to do with the developers." Yeah, but he's not just a developer. He is CEO of the whole of Gearbox. So he's got, pull.
The publishers themselves, right? They published We Happy Few, right? They've got experience in this field, right? And even if they have handed off the responsibility of that to Take-Two or 2K Games or whatever, if they have done that, then they've done that consciously. And Borderlands 3 is a big enough game that they don't need any sort of outside support or help. Maybe I don't know. This is just my take on it. But
it's a brand name that is recognisable and will carry itself.
Yeah, people are like, just don't blame Randy. It's not his fault. Well,
we quickly moved on to criticising him for his fashion choices as opposed to his business choices, because that's totally an easy target.
Ad hominem attack, but there we go. It's just a bit of fun, guys. Lighten up in it. So this is the Borderlands 3 quote. This is from the press release, right? They say, at launch on September 13th, Borderlands 3 will be available for PC exclusively through the Epic Games Store. Borderlands 3 will be available on additional PC digital storefronts in April 2020. So people are upset again about the Epic Store. It seems like this story isn't going away.
That's what I mean. Can we say this is actually a surprise? Like,
surprising nobody.
Yeah, when the leak came out, I was kind of like, oh, all right, yeah, of course it is. Like,
yeah. This is what Epic do now, right?
They're doing, and it's working. The Epic versus Steam war. Epic are setting them. They're building a solid front. To fight them.
They are. You can only assume that their user base now is growing on the back of this because they keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't working, they wouldn't keep doing it.
A lot of people in the beginning, I'm sure, would have been pissed off, rightly, because of you're allowed to have your opinion. But then over time, they were like, "Oh, I'm angry because the Metro Exeter stuff is bullshit," but you weren't necessarily a fan of Metro, but now Borderlands is coming along. It's like, oh, well, maybe I will give Epic a chance because I want to play Borderlands more than another game. Because the more games they get, the more people they're bringing in.
Yeah. I think if you have to really be committed to your stance if at this point, if you're a Borderlands fan and you're like, oh, fuck, I get an Epic Store. If you're a big fan of this series and you're going to veto the game until April, then you have to be really set in your ways to do that, or you really fundamentally oppose the Epic thing. Yeah. More power to you. I mean, that's fine. Totally fine. But you got to stick to your guns if you believe in something. However, will this end right? This was the question at the GDC. One of the Epic, I forgot what his name was, Steve Allison, right? He said at the GDC, we don't ever want to do that again about taking the exclusivity of Metro Exodus so late in the game from Steam onto Epic Store so late in the game. We don't ever want to do that again because of the backlash, and also that there will be a time. I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have the quote in front of me, but he said something like, "There will be a time when we don't buy exclusives anymore." That is a strategy that we will end at some point. However, Tim Sweeney has come out in kind of contradiction to that, right? So this happened on Twitter. So this Twitter user called Burning Phoenix said, at Tim Sweeney, care to explain what's going on with the observation after what was said here? The game was already set for Steam. So he's talking specifically about an article that headlines, Epic Games says they won't make another Metro Exodus mistake again, right? However, obviously, with this Borderlands 3 news coming out, they're buying up exclusivity again. It seems to be not going away. So Tim Sweeney's response was, we've had a lot of discussions about this since GDC, since Steve Allison said it's going to come to an end.
Which was only a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Epic is open to continuing to sign funding / exclusivity deals with willing developers and publishers regardless of their previous plans or announcements around Steam. So we're just going to carry on doing it, he says. Burning Phoenix replies then, so basically what you said at GDC was a lie. And then Tim comes back, at GDC, Steve Allison said, we don't want to do that ever again when asked about the Metro Exodus controversy. And then he carries on, this prompted further discussions at Epic, leading to the realization that these calls must be up to the developers and publishers. And Epic wouldn't tell them no on account of existing statements made about Steam. So this raises the question now. I've titled this part in my notes, the Epic exclusivity backtrack / U-turn / flip-flop, right?
Yeah.
Because they've changed their minds based on conversations that they've had since the GDC. And if it was a government person who said this and changed his mind, he'd be a flip-flopper, right? That's what they say it in the news. Like, he's flip-flopped on his opinion. Can he be trusted? He changed his opinion. He's obviously not to be trusted. Isn't changes of opinion just a natural conclusion of like new information. Aren't people allowed to change their minds?
Yeah. Is it a lie, or did they just reform their business strategy? And like, you can say it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not coming down on that, but it's not a lie if you've just changed your mind. It's back to the what we covered it recently. The Black Ops guy, the bloke from Treyarch, Vonderhaar. David Vonderhaar.
Yeah.
Whether or not he lied about like loot boxes or microtransactions or something.
Yeah, Call of Duty, some sort of
something Black Ops 4. I can't remember what it was. But it's like, is that a lie, or did their plans just change?
Yeah,
because like something you say at the very, very beginning.
It was something to do with an operator being locked behind.
Paid
like additional content. Where the way that you unlock an operator was different to how we said it originally.
But is this sort of thing a lie, or is it just, like you say, the natural like evolution of things?
Yeah, I mean, I must state here that I don't necessarily agree with what Tim is doing here. That's not the point. The point is that is Tim free and are Epic Store free to change their minds and make a different decision to what they've previously announced or said or gone on record saying? Because I think this is a big problem. I mean, personally, I like people to change their minds. I like people to have the freedom to assess new information that's brought to their attention and be able to make a decision or change their minds based on that information. Anyone who says one thing is forever set in stone, has to think that thing because they said it out loud, I think is foolish, right? Yeah. And I think you can never trust somebody who has to stick to one thing that I've said in the past, despite new evidence or despite new information that's come to the forefront.
And it's similar to all the drama that happens when some, public figure, it turns out a decade ago they had a bit controversial tweets, like in the past, but they were like edgy and like whatever then, but now they've matured and realized that stuff was bullshit. Yeah. Should they still be beholden to that? No, because they've evolved as a person. Just like the stuff like this, I think it's an evolution of business strategy.
I know what the people who don't like Epic and really oppose what Epic are doing here with the exclusive thing. I know they will use this as say, see, they lied all along. Yeah. And if that's how you feel, then that is fine. Like I'm not opposing you using this as evidence that they are backtracking. However, if that is the case, then anything you ever say can never be redacted, right? You can never change anything you say in future because that is what the precedent that you're setting here. So go after Epic by all means, but maybe use a better reason than he changed his mind because of further information. I don't know. That's just my take on it. Again, don't shoot me just for my opinion. I'm offering my opinion here, and it's up to you to disagree, or whatever.
They've danced around the language quite cleverly as well because, the headline of the article is Epic Games say they won't make another Metro Exodus mistake again. That's not necessarily the exclusivity thing. And they're saying, so Epic are like not black and white saying we're not going to go back on that kind of thing. I'm really butchering explaining this. But,
take your time, dude. That's what I tell my 7-year-old. Take your time. The words are there. Just take your time. Nobody's going to interrupt you. Nobody's going to interrupt you.
But the term mistake with Epic, again, that doesn't necessarily mean it being exclusive. They could see it as, the way we did it, not what actually happened. And calling it a mistake then may have been a bit preemptive because now we've seen that the game did do really well anyway. Yeah. So calling it a mistake may have been a bit premature. So now they're like, well, it wasn't a mistake because it did work.
Yeah.
There was a lot of controversy, but it worked.
I mean, it's actually some sort of selling point for them now for developers going forward because of the news came out that that Metro Exodus sold 2.5 times more than Metro last night or whatever. That's a point of like gloating for Epic. It's like, see, if you come to Epic, you won't see any ill effects or whatever. Signing this exclusivity deal will work for you because you'll get, one, this bunch of money, and two, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll make less money because it worked for Epic. So yeah, maybe you're right in terms of that way of thinking about it. So the next question, if we haven't pissed you off already about the Epic thing, because I know it's a very divisive subject, so I'll be as respectful to all opposing opinions as possible. So moving on, is it even profitable to keep buying these exclusives? And this is the next thing that was addressed by Tim Sweeney on Twitter. Now, Georgie Delchev asked on Twitter, I'm really curious about this. With all the exclusivity money you are handing out, does Epic Games Store even make a profit for Epic Games, or is it at a net loss? That's a good question, because they've obviously thrown loads of money around buying up these exclusivity deals, but do the sales then make it profitable for them in the long run?
Yeah, especially doing it as often as they are.
Exactly. So Tim Sweeney says, the Epic Games Store earns a net profit on each transaction from its 12% store fee. Our average cost of transaction is under 12%. So on each sale, they're still making a profit, even though they're handing 88% to the developers. With that small cut, I think we covered in the past anyway, we broke it down as to how much money the processing costs is, what I think it's 5.5% profit or something, right?
Yeah, they get like $4 or $5 per sale or something like that.
And then he goes on, our upfront investments in exclusives and free games are significant and may exceed net profits from third-party games in 2019. So basically, what he's saying is, we're running at a loss at the moment. We are spending loads of money, and he says may exceed net profits. What he means by that is it's going to cost us more than we're making back, essentially.
Yeah.
But the value in that for them is they're growing consumer base, they're growing install base, they're growing amount of people who are using the Epic Store, and in the long run, that will pay dividends. So they're investing in the future, essentially.
Yeah, and they're very much relying on games being the selling point rather than their service itself. Because Steam, everyone loves it because it's got a massive library, and then all the features are just like nice extras. But now you've become accustomed to them, and that's like the base level of service people expect in the gaming industry. And Epic doesn't have that, and that's just not good enough.
Yeah,
there's no arguing that. I think they have significantly less stuff. But Epic seems to have the mentality like, if we get enough good games, people will forget about the crap service.
It's not the most important thing for players to have all these additional bits. It's playing the game. That's the important bit to them.
It's like build it and they will come, but instead of building it, it's like, if we just take all the good games, and like, you're going to have to come with us. We've got them in a big sack. You're going to have to come get them.
Epic seems to be going the distance, right? Build it and they will go. Go the distance.
Anytime I hear go the distance, I think of the bloody song in the Hercules Disney movie.
Why is every one of your references either a Disney movie, a superhero movie, or bloody Star Wars, Henry? Have you never even seen Field of Dreams? Get out.
You've
seen Field of Dreams. Tell me you've seen Field.
Yes.
Right, you laugh.
Many moons ago.
Okay.
I had one comment really appreciating my little Harry Potter reference in yesterday's video. Thank you very much.
If it wasn't for you putting all these like popular culture references and the memes on the videos, they wouldn't get half as many likes on the videos.
I had a good over 9,000.
I'll let you off for this one, Henry. I'll let you off.
It takes bloody ages to find half of them, though, because they're like 3 seconds long and their quality's normally AIDS. So I'm like, I've just got to fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
how come you guys can't be more serious on your channel? Because we're having a laugh. It's a bit of banter, guys. I didn't really mean that Henry should get out.
But I've already packed my bags. I'm leaving.
It was just a laugh, guys. Relax. We're just having a bit of fun with it. Anyway, that is pretty much that story. So where does that leave you with Borderlands 3 as my next question to you viewers? Are you still holding on to the philosophy that you will not buy anything on our Epic Store ever? Do you buy into the idea that Epic Store is just out there to steal your information, and they're selling your information to the Chinese and the spies and the hackers and whatever else the conspiracy theorists seem to propagate? Or have you come around? Are you one of the people who are like, oh, I wasn't into it, but now they've got more games? I'd like to hear what you guys think and what your experiences are, because Epic to me is nothing. I don't buy enough games even to really care, to be honest. But if a game comes up on Epic and I've got an opportunity to buy it, I won't not buy it. Like I'll get Outer Worlds this year. I definitely will. I'll play Borderlands 3 on, and that way, this Epic strategy has won on me, really.
Yeah. But then if you do hate Epic, that's fine. And if you do like Epic, That's also fine. Stop fucking turning on each other. You're all just so angry. I'm gonna get all hippie now. Just be peaceful.
Just hug a tree, man. Just go and hug a tree.
Hit the blunt, hug the tree, play the game, fucking move on. Right?
Hug a tree. Go and get some wood.
And you say I make everything bloody dirty. Well, you're just as bad. You're hiding behind, I'm older, I'm a parent, I've got responsibilities. It's just a fucking lie.
Yeah, I've got a bit more decorum, though. I don't take it to the level that you take it to. You've got a dirty mind, right? And you go really, really graphic with it.
Because it's funnier.
Okay. Maybe you're right.
The little...
It's got to be subtle, though, right?
The hidden outtake at the end was quite fabulous. Context for that.
What was that?
You know what? You're not getting any. It's funny out of context.
Which one?
It was about you biting the pillow and getting pegged.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was me, like...
He even said, edit that out, and I didn't.
No, I'm leaving it in now.
I kept it and stuck it in the back.
Stuck it in the back.
Just like that happened to you.
It all goes full circle.
See?
It didn't happen, really. It's just Henry's dirty mind thinking about what happens in my love life with my wife at home. And I've, for the record, I've never been pegged in the shitter by my wife or anybody else for that matter.
Sounds like a Donald Trump tweet. I never said that. I've never been pegged in my life.
Hashtag fake news. It was April the 1st. It was International Trump Day on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Hashtag fake news, the 1st of April.
Seeing all these
International fake news.
Fucking stories.
Anyway, let's move on for the good of
gaming.
everybody else's imaginations right now, I can imagine. Let's move on. We're going to move on to the Bob Dylan of Exposé articles. We are talking specifically about the Jason Schreier article that we covered on Wednesday in our video. And we mainly focused on the backlash and the response by BioWare saying that we don't agree with this because you're being personal about it and attacking some of our leadership, and we stand by our leadership, says the fucking leadership,
we
right?
Stand by our terrible decisions.
Anyway, that's what we covered in the video, but we didn't cover any of the in-depth anyway, any of the problems that BioWare had developing the game and the reason and all the shit that kind of contributed to the way that Anthem released. So, the first thing, right, that I noticed in the article is that it started out as an on-foot survival game, right?
Yeah.
Rather than a flying looter shooter.
No flying at all.
How awesome would it have been to be a survival game, right?
Yeah, right.
Like a shooting survival. I think that. I would have thought that has been fucking a lot better.
Like, when it comes to the flying, they said they were having trouble with, like, mobility in general. They tried climbing being the core method of getting around, so I feel like that would end up kind of like an Uncharted or maybe even an Assassin's Creed, more like parkour-y type. But then they changed it to flying, then took out the flying, then put it back, and every time they did that, they had to completely rework the map because if you can fly, you can just fly over stuff.
Yeah,
so let's put a big mountain in the way. But if it's flat, you can't. You've got to
your whole level design has to change depending on how you can move around as a character, right?
And they had to find a way to limit the flying, because if you can fly anywhere, you can't. There needs to be boundaries in the game.
Yeah,
there needs to be something.
They were talking about like more like a gliding type of mechanic and things like that. But a survival RPG game, more focused, rather than focused on shooting and looting, it was focused around surviving, right, and going out into the wilds beyond the wall. It's going to be called Beyond, but it got called Anthem, so it was better name that they ditched. So going beyond and then surviving as a group, going out, doing some missions, and then having to work your way back. That sounds as a concept better than what we actually got, which is a Destiny clone.
And they said something about like the weather being super important, like there'd be procedural enemies and procedural weather that you go out to do your mission, you do it and you have a hard time. There's things trying to kill you, including like the weather, be crazy thunderstorms and like blizzards and shit.
Yeah.
And then you've got to not grind in the sense of grinding for loot, but like grind your way back and fight to get back home.
Yeah.
That sounds way cooler.
Yeah, anyway, that didn't happen, didn't come to fruition. Now, one of the big things from the article, really, that a lot of people have picked up on was the Bob Dylan of video game engines, Frostbite. So this is... This was an engine built by DICE for Battlefield games. It was covered in the article. It was made for a first-person shooter, which is the Battlefield games. Now, Patrick Soderlund, the former vice president in charge of Worldwide Studios at EA, the guy who said, if you don't like it, don't buy it, about Battlefield 5, that guy, he's since left EA and he's working on something else because he left a sinking ship like the rat that he is. He mandated the use of Frostbite for all the games produced by EA in order to reduce licensing fees, right? So we've got this engine. We're going to shoehorn it into all our other games to stop having to pay the 5% fee to Epic for the Unreal Engine or whatever. They're trying to save money, right? It's a money decision, and the knock-on effect of that is Mass Effect Andromeda gets really like shot in the arse by it because BioWare, again the same development studio here, have to build all these new features in the engine itself with very limited support, because apparently it was the same time that FIFA was getting Frostbite implemented into that. So there was a core team who were helping with the Frostbite engine. We're all dispatched to help with a FIFA game. Nobody was around to help with Anthem. Mass Effect Andromeda ended up like it did. That was a laughing stock when that was released. So BioWare have twice been the victim of having to use this just shoehorned engine. I was going to say shitty, but I'm sure it's pretty good. And but it's not fit for purpose in terms of an RPG.
And at like the back end of development, I think the article says they had to send in like a strike team of people from DICE who knew how to use Frostbite. Sending in a strike team to fix that's mad. It's just like we know how to use it. We'll come in and we'll help. Well, they said like using Frostbite was so difficult because the tools themselves were so limiting, because it's built for first-person shooters and it does that well. It works well for Battlefield and Battlefront. They feel quite nice to play, but other games it doesn't work. And I feel like you're trying to like hammer a nail. And you're holding it there, but every single time you hit it, your thumb's in the way. Like you can't take your thumb away. You have to keep hitting through your thumb to be able to do it. You have to hurt yourself and fight against it.
Yeah, there's a certain issues with the engine that some of the developers at BioWare were detailing in the article, saying that it takes so long to implement changes or whatever, and it just held them back. So you think in terms of something that should take a month might take 3 months or whatever, right? But in those terms, for the money that a 5% or whatever percent on a third-party engine that EA have saved on this money, this decision by Patrick Soderlund might have been one of the worst decisions that he made while he was working at EA, and might actually, it might mean, we'll talk about it in a bit, but we don't know what the knock-on effect is going to be for BioWare and for EA as well. I mean, Patrick Soderlund's gone now. Is this going to be his legacy? Yeah. Are they going to change their minds now he's gone? Are they going to stick to this now? You could imagine that BioWare have put in place some of the tools that they need now in the Frostbite engine. So going forward, it might not be as tricky because they've built up the tool set that they need going forward for future games. But it's got to leave a stench, right? Yeah, and they were saying like they had to like hack around stuff. Like they knew it was going to be glitchy, but they didn't have the time in that like last 18-month massive crunch to hit the deadline. They didn't have time to actually fix it. So they had to kind of bend the rules and just try and make it work. Yeah, I mean, for all the talk that there was mismanagement and poor morale or whatever at the studio, for all that talk, it feels like mismanagement and lack of creative vision could work in some instances in terms of no one person dictating. Because they were talking about management meetings where people would go in and then they'd have problems and two differences of opinion, but they'd come out of the meeting without no resolution, no like clear vision as to which way it's going to be, just a load of questions. Now, without that like clear defined management, you could work that out, right? If you have enough time and have enough resources, and you don't have the problem of this Frostbite engine. I feel like personally that maybe the biggest contributor to this failure was the knock-on effect and all the hassle that implementing the Frostbite engine caused, like all the delays and everything they might have been able to manage if it wasn't for the Frostbite and the fact that they had to implement it. Well, and because it was implemented in all of the games, all the EA games, and that meant that staff were unavailable to do things that
they should have been working on. And people were moved from certain projects to others. Like some of the BioWare team were put on FIFA to just code it. And it's like
stupid,
mad.
But
I don't think EA are the ultimate evil puppet masters that they often are. Like, oh, let's put a microtransaction and a loot box in here. Mm-hmm. They definitely really fucked it up with Frostbite.
Yeah.
But I do think the leadership thing's massively important. Because I feel like without the leadership, they didn't know where they were going, like what direction they were trying to get in. And with the problem of Frostbite, they didn't know how to get there. They don't know where they're going or how to get there.
Yeah.
So
that's true. You think in terms of a game developer, or an individual person who's working at the company, for them to not know where they're going and not have any clear direction, as well as having to be hampered by all these technical issues with things, like it's such a clusterfuck of contributing factors that led to Anthem being. I mean, it's a wonder really, and they were talking about how it all came together in the last minute. Mike Dara came on board, and he he was the one with the vision to kind of get it out the door. Essentially, he gave the deadlines and was starting to dictate things. And without him, the question is like, what state would it have been? Would it have even been released?
It's definitely not a good state. What do they say? It's like 55 on Metacritic right now. Something like that.
It is.
But without Dara coming in, would it even exist? He's done. From what the article suggests, it's incredible that he managed to wrangle something out of this.
So he's getting a lot of credit out of this, and he was working on Dragon Age 4, and he got taken off that.
They half cancelled it.
And they rebooted it because the director at the time. I don't know what's happening with that right now, but
there's so many things with the other games that EA are working on that are connected directly to this or indirectly. Sorry.
So what else do we want to? I've hit a lot of my things now. So
one thing that struck me pretty early on, and it's quite near the beginning of the article, is the name changed from Beyond to Anthem, and that was like days before the official reveal.
E3 2017.
Yes, it's back in 2017, and they didn't know what it fucking meant.
Yeah,
they were like, let's call it Anthem, because I think there were copyright issues or something with or licensing issues with calling it Beyond. I can't remember something.
Oh, really?
I feel like I read that somewhere. They couldn't call it that.
Yeah. I thought they just didn't like it.
Well, maybe.
EA just walks in and says, "No, don't like that. Change it."
Anthem. But they didn't know what it meant. Like, why is it called Anthem? Our story's doesn't exist because it's been, messed up by leadership and it's convoluted and we don't know what it's called Anthem. We now have to make something that means Anthem. They had to think of the concept after the name, which is completely the wrong way around.
I think it's indicative of the whole process, really. It's like the devs don't even know what the fucking name means, never mind how the game's going to play.
And that was a big thing when they said it was Anthem, was like, from the public, like, why is it called Anthem? Like, what does that mean?
The anthem of video games. What I thought it was is like, Anthem is what you could say Bob Dylan wrote, because he's a good songwriter. Yeah. He's writing anthems, right? So therefore, the Bob Dylan video games is relating to the name of the game, which is Anthem. That's what I thought, a connection, because trying to make a connection. However, apparently the Bob Dylan video games were supposed to be relating to the fact that it's going to be remembered for years to come, like Bob Dylan songs are remembered for years to come. That's the connection there. However, Anthem was pulled out of some EA executives' arse, apparently, and Beyond would have been such a better name, because the idea of going beyond the wall into the
unknown,
into the Bermuda Triangle, as everything they were envisioning it, to get the to play the game. I don't know what's in the, maybe a lot of this is down to EA. I know there are contributing factors. Let's not just demonize EA.
The one person who made a decision was the EA Soderlund. That's it. Like he came in, they mocked up a demo, and he was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
And then a while later, they mocked up another demo and played it with had him play it, and then that one had the flying in.
Yeah.
And he was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
So he's the only one who made any decisions. They weren't necessarily good fucking decisions.
Yeah.
But I guess at least there was something. But
see, the thing is, right, I kind of get, this is another for me, another bit of evidence why EA might have just been mismanaged on their level too, because Patchen Soderlund's EA executive, he's the guy who obviously use Frostbite Engine or else. Has to look great. The reason he uses Frostbite Engine because it's great for graphics.
Yeah,
right?
It looks pretty.
So he comes in, he plays this demo where you just walk in, you're going beyond. It's called Beyond. You're going beyond a thing. There's nothing that stands out. There's nothing special about it. And he's like, "What the fuck is this? This is bollocks, right?"
Yeah.
So the next 6 weeks, the developers work the hardest to try and get it lucky. They redo all the graphics and that. They give it an overhaul, as well as they put the flying back into some...
A very last minute as well.
Yeah, and this was just before E3 2017. And that's what ended up as the demo in E3 2017, a version of the demo that... the demo that Patrick Soderlund got just prior to that. And this looks great, and just flying. So basically he's ticked his boxes. So in his EA executive head, it looks good. Tick.
Yeah.
Is there something unique or special about it? You can fly in an Iron Man suit. Tick. So those two ticks, right, in his head is what's contributed to this cluster. I feel like that's Patrick Soderlund's fault. I don't think I know you said there that maybe he was the one with the vision who actually made a decision.
Not vision, but he at least that gives them some direction.
Yeah, that's true.
They once they had that trailer and a name, it's like, okay, we have taken one step forward. We've still got 100 more to take.
Wasn't the whole problem that Casey Hudson left in the first instance, and he was the
creative director.
He was the director to begin with. And it was his vision, but then he left, and then there was this void of leadership, and then nobody knows which direction they're going, and nobody takes Casey Hudson's place until he comes back in 2017
as a studio manager.
Yeah, and it just feels like the whole thing was set on the wrong path since that happened, since Casey left. I blame Casey. No, I'm joking. He probably contributed.
Well, the Mike Dara guy, he's top billing. That's an interesting thing the article brings up as well. On the credits, he's the very first name.
Yeah, he came onto the
executive producer for the last 16 months or
so,
something like that. Yeah. So that's the impact he had.
So
bringing this monster together.
Last minute name changes, Patrick Soderlund's influence, the Frostbite engine, leadership issues.
The whole crunch mentality, I think it's something we've seen a lot of recently.
Yeah.
And there was some good tweets from Jason Schreier kind of continuing the story over the last 24 hours or so. So he tweeted saying, "I've got a number of messages from developers who work or worked at beloved AAA studios saying, replace BioWare with my studio, and it's the same story, which is heartbreaking. But I can't imagine anything changing unless we keep reporting and talking about these stories." So it is just quite an industry-wide thing of crunch, put it out, whatever, it works, done. Yeah. Game over.
And I think
BioWare magic.
The fact that developers are being made to work under these conditions is a bit of an industry norm, is troubling. And the fact that BioWare say, "Oh, I don't like this article because you're criticizing us specifically," they're missing the whole point of what Jason Schreier is trying to achieve with this article, because the knock-on effect of this article, or one of them, will be that other studios look at the article and think, "Oh shit,
they're onto us.
Oh shit,
yeah.
If we release our game and then Jason Schreier talks to some of our development studios, the conditions that our studio is the same as this, maybe we're the next to be exposed by Jason Schreier.
Yeah.
We've got to sort some shit out now. We've got to make sure that doesn't happen by making our working conditions better." If that is one of the knock-on effects of this article, then so be it. Jason Schreier is doing good work here.
Yeah.
If that is,
and I'm sure there's loads of people who are in those toxic and very, very, very stressful environments, just thinking, "Oh, it's just the way it goes. It's just the job. It's the nature of the job." And then this kind of stuff comes out, and he's like, "I don't have to stand for this.
Yeah,
this isn't acceptable."
You think about all the people at BioWare who had to work under these conditions, who were stressed, who have been having to take time off because they were depressed or whatever. You think how they feel now their story's been written and told and everyone's talking about it. They must feel so kind of validated. It's like, it wasn't just me. It's like, it's not their fault anymore. The game is shit. It's not their fault anymore.
It's like what I feel like an abusive relationship. When you're in it, you're like, "Oh, but I love him and all that.
Yeah.
It's just going to be fine. Then you come out and it's like, you know what? That was bullshit.
Yeah, that is bullshit.
Like, why didn't I get out sooner type.
Yeah.
It's very, like, similar thing.
I mean, the more you think about it in those terms, Jason Schreier and Kotaku have done a great thing here overall for a lot of people in that situation. So
a lot of people...
There you go, BioWare. Shove that.
Take that. A lot of people really dismiss Jason Schreier because he's
quite divisive.
Yeah, he's got some unpopular opinions about certain things. Like he aligns quite closely with microtransactions being good, and I don't agree with that. But just because you don't agree with him on something doesn't mean that this article is bullshit.
Yeah,
like this is a really good expository piece.
Yeah.
Explaining things that we wouldn't know for a fact otherwise. Like we've all like speculated it, and the people have been getting their tin hats out. But turns out the tin hats aren't misplaced in this case.
Yeah, and if this kind of article does lead to a change in working conditions for a lot of people in the industry, then it's got to be a great thing in those terms. Like
there's always talk of unions when this sort of stuff happens, and I don't know enough about that sort of thing to be able to really comment on it, but it's a discussion that's being had, and that's definitely a good thing.
Exactly. So what we got next?
Have
you finished your? Have you finished your? I've got some closing
notes. Yeah, let's close this baby out.
That. So yeah, I mean we've just touched on the fact that BioWare devs are probably feeling very validated at the moment, or just vindicate, or just feel like the burden of responsibility is off their shoulders.
Yeah.
But I think the next question for me is what will the mid to long term effects of this be on BioWare? Because you've got to think that this response that they released 16 minutes after the article was published,
it was definitely
preempted, right? So we couldn't even read it in 16 minutes. Never mind formulate the response and then get that through, get authority to publish it, because they've got certain, it's probably got to work like that, right? So there's no way that was all written and digested in that much time. So you've got to be thinking how they are actually going to respond to this, and
actually respond.
Are they going to try and fix the bad PR that they've got now? Because this is like they're going to be having crisis meetings. How do we fix our bad reputation now? And EA will be the same. It's will they be pushing for better working conditions and then allowing their developers to speak out like Rockstar did? Right, Rockstar was like, right. Jason Schreier did an expose on the working conditions or the crunch behind Red Dead Redemption 2, and then what Rockstar did was like give the developers permission to talk to the press about
because it's
the working conditions, just to try and ease that.
Yes, like not everyone feels this way. It was just like the core like three main people, like the writers and that. We're the ones who really did it.
That was the only the ones that crunched.
I was thinking Schreier tweeted about that kind of thing as well. Like on a related note, I'm told by a couple of BioWare employees that so far studio management hasn't talked to the staff about the article. Instead, the company sent out emails yesterday with one main message: don't talk to the press. So that's just like, don't you fucking say a thing.
It's just the worst.
You're going to make it worse. It was like,
and this is the whole point we made in the video that we released on Wednesday, was that that if you're not guilty of anything, why be afraid of the truth, right?
Yeah.
And obviously they're trying, like, don't say anything else to the press that might incriminate us even more. Like, hang on a fucking minute, who are you telling me you've been making us work under these conditions for so long, and now you're silencing us? Like, it's like, this is that's just a bad. Yeah. I mean, if that's true, obviously it's another anonymous source by Jason Schreier. And then my next question is, will EA be more likely to shutter the studio like they have done in the past, based on the negative press generated by the story? Because Battlefront 2 wasn't great for them. They've got some bad press. Yeah. And a lot, EA have got to be very sensitive to that. And what you find is that someone makes a mistake and they get condemned for it. They try and overcompensate, or they go the opposite direction. It's like, I've made this comparison in the past, right? You have a very controlling relationship when you're a young relationship, or the person that you're with is a very certain way, and then when that relationship ends, you want the exact opposite. Yeah. Like, so if someone's like really controlling and very dictatorial, you want, as a
palate cleanser.
Yeah, as like I'm thinking of like Bungie or Boomerang. It's not that. It's like, what do you call a relationship?
Rebound
relationship. But Bungie, Boomerang, it works.
Sort of.
As a rebound relationship, you want something that's the exact opposite, right? And I feel like this, it doesn't really work as an analogy, but in terms of how BioWare have behaved in the past, they're going to want to try. But I mean, the prime example was one of the dictates from EA was, let's make Anthem unmemeable, because Mass Effect Andromeda was such a meme, and the rebound of that, or the knock-on effect of that, was we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that this game cannot be memed. It has to look perfect.
So they spent so much time on getting like the facial animation super nice and the graphics looking super nice.
They forgot to
at
make
the
a good game.
expense of everything else. Yeah, they forgot to make a good game.
So that's my question: is like, will EA try and rebound this and try and make the working conditions so much better? And is that the case, or will they just shut the studio and say, hang on a minute, this ain't working, you failed us, and everyone hates you now, and you'll never make a good game again, see you later? Because that's the fear, right?
Yeah, well, there is always a glimmer of hope for them fixing the game, because No Man's Sky launched as a real fucking shit show, and that's like pretty good now.
Yeah.
Battlefront 2 is seeing a bit of a resurgence in people coming in like, no, it's actually like a solid like multiplayer shooter. It's not your story-driven Star Wars game, but it's fun because it feels like Star Wars because of like the visual and audio fidelity is incredible. So there is potential for it to make a comeback. It's not unheard of, but I'm not confident. I mean, they've got this roadmap laid out of stuff they want to keep adding with like the cataclysms and that, and they didn't even know what that fucking meant. So I don't know. I don't feel like they can turn it around.
It just seems like there's something rotten to the core at BioWare right now. It just feels like that it's not the game itself that's the problem. The game is the symptom of the problem. The problem is the management, and the problem is like the structure of the company. So there's something wrong, deep set in BioWare that needs to change fundamentally in order for them to start. It's like the expression that, I can't think of the expression now, but you don't try and convince people. You just show them by what you do, right? You can convince people by doing the right thing. If you do the right thing often enough, you will convince people rather than empty words, because words just don't mean anything. So right now, they've just got to knuckle down and do the right thing by
just
people.
Get on with it. Like so many of the original BioWare vets just aren't there anymore. BioWare isn't the same company as it was when Mass Effect was in development. It's just not the same company. It's the same name. And the BioWare magic ideology that it'll all come together at the last minute, it'll all be all right on the night.
BioWare magic.
It just doesn't work.
It'll be right on the night.
So they've got to rethink their strategy.
And I just hope that...
I hope for the best.
Maybe that's what BioWare are thinking right now. Don't talk to the press anymore, because you'll make it worse, the PR will get worse, and maybe EA will sack us.
We need
if you make it worse.
We need EA's money to fix this.
That's always the fear from a developer's point of view, and these people who've been talking to Jason Schreier is like the balance between getting this thing exposed and changing the working conditions for yourself, as well as the fear that this information coming out might well end the whole thing.
It does put you at risk, and it puts your company at risk, and like your colleagues and your friends, because they are human beings. That like they're not. Oh, we're evil. We're gonna make a horrible game and leech all your money. They want to just make a fucking game. There are some people like that. Who want to kind of rustle you and hustle you and take all your money. But there are people, just ordinary guys. Who are like, I'm here. I work on a game. I like drawing shit. I'm an art designer. That's what I like to do. It's what I do, and my job's a piece of shit right now. But I might lose it. I don't want to lose it.
That's always the risk, and let's hopefully everything works out for the best in the end, and we get some good games in future.
That's always the hope.
We will have to see. So that is our coverage on the EA debacle. Hopefully you found that entertaining. If you agreed or disagreed with any of the points that we raised, or anything else that you would like to add, feel free to do so in the comments down below, because we always try and engage you in the comments and generate some sort of discussion. Okay, so we're going to take a short break. You won't even notice it. It'll be like a fraction of a second. But when we were back, when we come back, we'll be talking, we'll be taking Discord questions as well as talking about the YouTube comments that have been left in our video. So, see you in a second. And as if by magic, we are back.
BioWare magic.
BioWare magic indeed. And in the interim, we have had some developments in this story on Anthem. Breaking news, hot off the press. And BioWare manager Casey Hudson has emailed the company or the employees in the company, and Jason Schreier's got his hands on it through his anonymous sources. Casey knows this is going to happen, right? Casey knew this was going to happen. But this is it. This is Casey's official response. I haven't read this through yet, so it's hot off the press. Like,
live.
Hey, BioWare.
Hey, guys.
Hey, BioWare. It's not like, hey, guys, or it's, hey, BioWare.
Yeah, that's right.
I just wanted to get a note out to you to share my thoughts on the Kotaku article on the online discussion it has raised. The article mentions many of the problems in the development of Anthem and some of our previous projects, and it draws a link between those issues and the quality of our workplace and the well-being of our staff. These problems are real, and it's our top priority to continue working to solve them. So he's acknowledging the issues there.
That's good.
So he's taking responsibility. These problems are real. It's not just, we're not just, sweeping them under the carpet, pretty much like the original BioWare response.
Just like, don't victimize us.
But he's being too personal.
Yeah, he's a bit more like, it's real. We're going to do something about it.
What we found out of Bounds was the naming of specific developers as targets for public criticism. It's unfair and extremely traumatizing to single out people in this way, and we can't accept that treatment towards any of our staff. That's why we did not participate in the article and made a statement to that effect, pretty much reiterating what was said in the initial
but I don't think it's fair to say that they were being victimized. He just
being personal. I mean,
he name dropped them for sure, but I don't think it was being like, it's this person's fault. It's just this person's a key name and they left before they came on.
I think there was enough information there to imply blame to certain individuals, but he never fully went and explicitly said this person was to blame.
He didn't blame anyone, but people could read that as blame. Like we were blaming the EA guy. So,
when I was offered the opportunity to return to BioWare as general manager, I came to the role knowing the studio was experiencing significant challenges in team health, creative vision, and organizational focus. I was, and continue to be, excited to help drive improvements in those areas because I love this studio, and above all, I want to create a place where all of you are happy and successful. I'm not going to tell you I've done a good job at that, and on a day like today, I certainly feel like I haven't, but some of the steps we've taken towards this include a more focused studio mission and values so that we have clarity on what we are here to do and how we define a high standard for our studio culture. We updated our studio structure around a matrix so that department directors can be fully focused on individual career support and well-being. We are defining better role clarity so that people can succeed better against clear expectations, and we are putting in place production changes that will provide for clearer project vision as well as a significant post-production period that will further relieve pressure and anxiety in terms during development. Whole lot of changes outlined there to do with the organization and how practically this is going to improve for people.
Yeah, like BioWare infrastructure, I suppose.
But I know there's much more to do, and we will talk in more detail about other actions we have been planning in response to internal feedback and post-mortems at next week's All Hands, which is probably some sort of meeting or whatever. As always, please continue to provide feedback on further steps we can take to make BioWare the best possible place to work. I'm committed to getting us to a place where we are delivering on the highest expectations for BioWare games through a work environment that's among the very best in the world. With your help, we will get there. Please let me know if you'd like to talk in person, and I'll be happy to set up time to clear your thoughts. That is a very positive PR message that he sent out there. Although it wasn't technically PR message, this was a internal memo that was leaked to Jason Schreier. He knew this was going to happen, and I'm sure everyone else can assume that too.
His article's probably being updated with like an actual comment on it.
So there you have it. That is the official response. Whether it actually changes much in the short term, I don't know. Maybe it's a lot of words just to try and calm people down a little bit about this BioWare thing.
And we probably never will know because we're not in it. We're not in BioWare with first-hand experience.
One thing's for sure, this is exactly what the developers working for BioWare want to hear.
Yeah.
This is what they want to hear.
What BioWare should be doing.
Yeah. This is what should have happened, or should, and hopefully, you know, they get the change that they probably deserve at BioWare at this point, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And that concludes our Anthem, I promise, discussion today. I promise that this concludes the Anthem discussion. We're going to move on now to our Discord questions. And first up, Earthworm Ben. So, by the way, for those of you who want to ask a question on the Discord, head over to the hashtag AskGaz channel on the Discord. And to get access to the Discord, you've got to be a patron. Patreon.com/prettygoodgaming is where you will find the page where you can sign up and become a supporter of the channel, and in that you are happy in the knowledge that you support us bringing this content on a weekly basis, and thanks to everybody who has taken that choice in up to now. So first up, Earthworm Ben. So there seems to be quite a few journalists complaining that Sekiro is too hard and should have an easy mode. This was prior to the video. This was like end of last week, so that's why it sounds a bit, because we've already covered this a little bit. So do you think that all games should be able to be completed by players of all skills, or do you think that the difficulty can make the charm of certain games, and what do you think about backlash to hard games? A few facets there. So
this was a really interesting topic because lots of people fell down very differently. Like we had slightly differing opinions on it.
Yeah.
So I feel like out of all of the negative stories that happen, I feel like this one was a bit more balanced. I don't know if that's just me, but because it's so opinion based.
Yeah, balanced on the amount of people on each side.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Because whenever there's Epic Store nonsense, it seems loudest on the anti side.
Yeah. But there's loud people on both sides. Both pro and con. Both pros and cons have been thrown out there. Do you think that all games should be able to be completed by players of all skills? No. I mean, it's talking about creative vision and allowing the freedom for developers to follow their vision and not be constrained by any sort of requirements like this. Yeah. It's like you don't have to tick all the boxes in every single game. You do something very specific. You follow your vision. And
some people in the comments were all about suggesting that games, as a developer, you should be trying to appeal to the maximum amount of people. And that's a valid opinion, but I do disagree.
Yeah.
And think that a game should have its audience, because when you aim to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
And compromising their core vision would end up being detrimental to like the game itself and the core fans, I suppose.
Yeah. I think that's the problem. I think that players think that every game should be for them.
Yeah,
I think that's where the issue begins, is where people think, right, Sekiro's a good game. Everyone likes Sekiro, but it's too hard for me. Why can't I enjoy it like everybody else?
Yeah, what am I missing?
And that's where the problem is, like, because there's the assumption there that they should be able to enjoy it and then play it. Like, games are not supposed, like, films aren't supposed to be for everyone. Like, there's certain genres and films that I just don't like. I don't watch.
Yeah,
or whatever.
like I don't really like horror movies because they don't interest me. I think they're boring, so I don't watch them.
Yeah,
like loads of people when the what's the remake? When It came out, the remake of that, everyone was like, "Oh, it's really cool. Do you want to go see it?" I'm like, no. Because it's not for me. I just don't really want to. I don't hate it or anything like that. I just don't care.
I don't know. I think that, what do you think about backlash to hard games? I mean, I think that you're totally, I think to sum it up, that the way I feel is like you're totally within your rights to raise an exception to something, yeah? And say, I don't like this for X, Y, and Z reasons. But you're not within your right to expect anyone to change it.
Yeah.
Or listen, in fact. You've got freedom of speech to say what you like, and developers and creators and people who make stuff like this have got the freedom to do what they like. So, like, register your exception to it and make sure that your voice is heard, but you cannot expect anything outside of that, because that is entitlement.
And I think the backlash for hard games perhaps might be the wrong word, because I think if you're a developer making a hard game and you hear people saying it's too hard, I feel like they'll kind of like like that because they know it won't be too hard.
Yeah.
Because they will have been able to complete it.
Yeah.
If one person can finish it, someone else can.
Too hard, yeah.
And with hard games, it comes down to like learning an instrument or something. You practice and you get better and you get to good. I hate that.
Yeah, it's just a difference of appeal from one specific game. This game has a very specific appeal, and if it appeals to you, you will love it and you will get loads from it. If it doesn't appeal to you, don't try and water down that appeal. Don't try and get them to change the vision. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Anyway.
There's plenty of people like, oh, it's too easy. Sekiro's so easy.
It's so easy. My 12-foot penis won't operate the control. Can operate the controller and finish the game for me because that's how much of a bragging bastard I am.
Yeah, I mean, if you find it that easy, good for you, bro. Nice flex.
Yeah. Lovely.
Okay, so we got another one from Gaboris, and thank you for teaching me how to say your name because I keep getting it wrong. It's quite a long question.
It was a huge text. We've broken it up and I've kind of tidied it up to make it a little bit more
concise.
Concise. So we can.
So Epic's main strategy to get exclusive games on their platform is their lowered cut of 12% compared to Steam's 30%. If Steam lowered their share to, say, 15% just like that, would they be able to function properly? Or have they dug themselves into a situation where they can only rely on sales revenues and not have any Fortnite-level extra income to keep them afloat while they organise? So that's if Steam do reduce their revenue split to even the playing field a little bit, can they financially afford to do it?
Yeah.
Or are they relying on having that extra percentage from the developers?
Yeah, it's technically unknowable unless you actually look at the figures. We don't know whether Steam themselves, their operating costs are more than 12 or 15% for that matter. If their operating costs were something like 10%, then their cut, if they lowered their share to 15, would only be 5%. Epic came out and detailed theirs. There's no way of knowing this for certain, but I would assume, given at the scale that which they operate, that their cut is way lower than 15%. I would assume that their cut is somewhere around 5% like Epic's was. That's just a ballpark guess. I don't have the answer for that, unfortunately. I think it's pretty nailed on, though, that they're likely to have very small operating costs.
Yeah, because I think I heard in a Game Informer podcast, they said that the crew over at Valve, there's people there, but there's like 12 people dedicated to doing Steam and running it. So that's a finite amount of people to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally if there's a new feature coming in, you get more people in to do it, but that is a finite amount of people, and they're getting more and more games. So in theory, their profits should continually be growing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe on the admin side, they do have bigger costs because of the sheer volume of games that go on there versus Epic, because Epic's kind of more curated, I guess. But there's literally no way of saying. And
we just don't know.
Yeah, we just don't. So the second part of this question, Epic have shared their expenses and profits from their own 12% and cut, and either they or people have said that Steam probably has the same expenses, but is that true? Again, there's actually no way of knowing that unless you look at the figures, which they don't publicly release because they're a private company. They're not a publicly traded company, so that's their info. And the last part of it, I'll just run through this. If Epic amasses a similarly sized library as Steam and also has the same extra functionalities, could their expenses still stay so low, or could there be a tipping point where they must raise their share to stay profitable? Tim Kaine came out and said that their share will always be 12%.
But they could change their minds.
Exactly, and that's the next point. Tim Kaine is Sweeney.
Yeah, Kaine's the Obsidian guy.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting mixed up here. Tim Sweeney said that this share's the same, 12%, and it always will be. But he has backtracked, or they have flip-flopped. They have flip-flopped this week on something.
It is subject to change. If they do get that same library and same features, the revenue split would be the only thing separating them from Steam. Because they would be exactly the same, but they have this better revenue split. So Steam would become
Steam have
obsolete.
To pull whatever's up their asses out and just lower it to 15. It's simple, Valve. Just do it.
So it just popped into my head. I can't remember who posted it. I think it might have been like Game Informer or something. Eurogamer. I saw that apparently in China, in some like supermarket or something, there's underwear with Gabe Newell's like face on the packaging, like a model. He's not wearing it. He's just there, like existing, and it's just a nice portrait picture of him. But it's just got Gabe Newell on it. It's completely irrelevant to anything, but it just popped into my head.
Gabe Newell underwear.
Yeah, you can see if you can get a picture. Hopefully you don't see him in his underwear. Yeah, that's it. It's like some underwear brand, and he's just on the box.
Wow.
And it's not, because normally on underwear there's like
long D.
You don't even see a head. It's just like a macho torso. He's got like muscles and then some pants. It's not. He's just there, standing there in a shirt.
Just a heavy set guy with glasses, just like smiling,
just like looking quite neutral.
Funny.
Yeah, completely irrelevant. But hey ho.
But there you go.
Look that up. It's quite funny.
Do you want to take next?
I'm a massive fan of this, and I hope it becomes a regular thing. DK Collie, keep them coming in. I'm going with a theme this week: shag, marry, kill. Let's keep it going. Let's have it on running. Be hyper sexist and get the media to say that we're objectifying women. It'll be a laugh. Okay. Claire Redfield, Ada Wong, Jill Valentine. So if you don't know, they are probably the major female characters in the Resident Evil games. I'd go shag Ada, bossy and a bit slutty. I think that says a little bit about your sexual proclivities there. Marry Claire, because even in a zombie apocalypse, she's up for a good chat.
I like that.
And kill Jill, who comes...
Because it rhymes. Wait.
Kill Jill, who comes to a fucking zombie apocalypse with a fucking baby blue beret. I mean, seriously.
I mean, criticising her
fashion choices
there.
I mean, isn't the blue beret in the first one? And they don't quite know what they're going into yet. But I mean,
I don't know.
Berets can be kind of cool, but
that's racist against the French. That right?
What's that? Well, I mean,
you want to watch what you're saying about berets. I mean, if it was a necklace of onions or a stripy black t-shirt, then you wouldn't be saying that shit, would you? I mean, seriously, come on, think about it.
Okay, in terms of the shag, marry, kill. I'm with you there. I totally agree. Shag Ada because she's a naughty little piece. Marry Claire because she's a laugh and she's a redhead. So I do have that. I have a penchant for. I know I rejected Triss last week and she got relegated to just the shag, but redhead.
Is that a relegation though? That's the question.
True.
Is relegated
You've got
to a
put
shag
up with me for life if you're married.
Yeah, I mean, she gets off easy.
Yeah, she does.
She gets shagged by you.
She's been spared. Well, that's part of it because Ada's, she's cheeky and she's quite seductive, but she's really like mysterious. She's a spy, so you could never trust her. Marry Claire. And what a cool brother-in-law to have, Chris.
Yeah.
He'd be such a bro. He'd come like, oh, I need to move a sofa. He'd come in, he'd lift it up, he'd punch it, keep pressing X to punch the boulder or whatever.
Perfect.
And unfortunately, I'd have to say kill Jill.
Jill. I mean, that short skirt's something to be said. I mean, you can just.
I like Jill. She's cool. I'm nowhere near as passionate about the blue beret. But I don't think she's as good as Claire. Maybe it's because I've played Resident Evil 2 quite recently, and she's cool in that.
Yeah, having only played Resident Evil 2, I'm not fit to answer this question. So Valentine's got to be romantic. So I don't know. Let's shag Jill Valentine. Ada Wong. It would be Wong to kill her, and you married her. So yeah, I'll kill her. I'll do the wrong thing and
you'll kill Ada.
Ada. Oh yeah,
I shagged Ada.
Right? Yeah. Let's marry Ada Wong.
But then again, Ada's the kind of person.
And then Claire can
Wait,
die.
no. So Jill, she dies in. Well, you're led to believe she's dead.
Spoiler alert.
Well, no, but she's not really. You don't even see it happen until like a flashback. It happens like between games. She dies and then comes back. So if I kill Jill, she might just come back anyway, and it'll all be fine. So.
Yeah, I won't even finish my answer because I'm not qualified. So thanks for the question again, Mr. D, K, Collie. Anyone else has any better answers, leave them down in the comments. Next is Lochka. Capcom had great financial and critical success with their reimagining of Resident Evil 2, still on topic, in a modern engine. Are there any other dated games that come to mind that could have similar success if done right? For example, if CD Projekt Red rebuilt the first decade-old Witcher game using the Red engine to make The Witcher 3, which I'd love to see. Hint, hint. Also, like we have got any, like anybody watching this, or we have got any sort of hint, hint. Like, oh, what can I do about it, Luchka? You're asking the wrong guy. I mean, send this to the CD Projekt Red podcast. I don't fucking know. Also, with Capcom's example, do you think a trend will start to emerge trying to replicate the success of RE 2019? I don't think they are setting the trend. I think
the trend already exists.
I think this is part of an industry-wide thing where you're just cashing in on already established IPs, brand recognition. People know the games from the past.
Monetizing nostalgia, essentially.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the first one that's caught your eye more than the rest. But there is a lot of this going on.
Yeah, remakes always come out, and just Resident Evil 2 just done it better than everyone else because it's really good.
Yeah, properly remade. Yeah. And which
one would I do?
Any dated games that come to mind could have similar success.
My go-to is usually the first Metal Gear Solid. Yeah. I'd love that. Like just updated visuals. Don't even need to change any of the mechanics. Just make it look prettier. Konami would never do it though. They'll turn it into a fucking pinball machine. I don't know. A game like Fallout New Vegas would be great if they just remade the whole thing, or Fallout 3, if they remade the whole thing from scratch with better graphics, and they took time to finish it. It'll never fucking happen because it's Bethesda talking about here. But I would love to see like an RPG, like a classic RPG like that remade, or even Oblivion. Elder Scrolls. Oblivion would be pretty cool because I only really played Skyrim. I played like a tiny bit of Oblivion.
Oblivion was great. It was really good. So in depth in terms of the mechanics. It was a really great game, right? Yeah. But it's dated now, and unfortunately, you can't go back and enjoy something having played something more update.
I'd quite like a updated version of GTA Vice City. Yeah. Because ultimately, I'd rather GTA 6 did that time period, or a specific time period, so they could be more stylish. Because we've done the cities before, and you've got Red Dead for like the Wild West. I'd really like it if you did GTA in a more like genre specific time period, like Vice City, because it's in like 80s Miami. Mm-hmm. So I think that'd be really cool. Yeah. So if you remade Vice City, that'd scratch that itch.
Even the original Red Dead Redemption might end up better than Red Dead Redemption 2, then.
Yeah, true. Could be.
On that controversial note, let's move on.
That's too much of a deep question to get into fucking right now. Right. Tons. So rumours have it that Nintendo is bringing Metroid Prime Collection and Zelda Link to the Past to the Switch, along with, of course, Link's Awakening being confirmed. Are there any certain older titles that you would like to see get a new lease of life on the Switch as a port or a complete remaster?
Yeah.
So I guess this is specifically Nintendo ones, right?
Are there any certain older titles? Well, I mean, I'm going to open the scope of this question because I'm not a big Nintendo fan, and I've not played a lot of the old catalogue really, but there is so much room for bringing awesome games to the Switch, and I've mentioned two of them right there, right? Any of the previous Fallout games, Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3, either or, both great. And then
Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls. Like just a huge sprawling RPG, please. Yeah, I will take it.
In terms of the first one that jumps out to me, thinking just specifically Nintendo, would be like Mario Sunshine. Yeah. I loved Mario Sunshine on the GameCube. Yeah. That was my absolute shit. But also my first like Mario experience was on the Game Boy with Mario Land 1 and 2. I'd love updated like new Super Mario Bros. Like graphics of those games. Yeah. So I think they were really cool.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. And it works really well on the Switch because it's just quite an easy, just 2D side scroller. It's not that much like depth.
Yeah. No, I would hit the roof, hit the floor. I don't know what the expression is, but I would really lose my shit if Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3 gets announced for the Switch. I I'd maybe even forgive Fallout 76.
What about Fallout 76 on Switch?
Nah, fuck that. Fuck that.
How glitchy it is, it probably would run.
Yeah. Right, moving on to the very final question of this week's podcast. If you want to get them in, head over to Patreon, ask Gaz something on the Discord for next week. So, not that Rob Lowe has the final question. Going to buy a new game today, choice of one of these three. Sorry, butchered that. I'll play them all eventually. Spider-Man, RE2 Remake, or Devil May Cry 5. What would you go for first?
This is a no-brainer for me for which one to go for first.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man,
right?
for sure. It's older, so it's going to be cheaper, and it's got so much content in terms of just like a solid single player.
It does everything right.
Yeah, like everything it should do as a Spider-Man game, it does really well.
The action gameplay is solid. The cutscenes and story is cutscenes are great, but the story is really good.
It's not super deep, but it's a solid Spider-Man story. You know what you're getting. There's a few like twists and turns in there, and it's really, really well rendered. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, you will not regret playing Spider-Man first. However, RE2, it's more of a narrative-driven thing, and Devil May Cry 5, I haven't got a opinion on that. So.
RE2, it depends how much you're really going to get out of it, and kind of the same with DMC, because it's a remake of a PlayStation 1 game, it's not super, super long, and it's not filled with content. But it is there. It's kind of, because you're playing it as Leon, and then playing it as Claire, all the other way around, and then there's the Last Survivor or Fourth Survivor like modes, and then there's the free DLC, which is pretty good. And then with Devil May Cry, again, it's quite a short experience in comparison to a lot of modern AAA games, because that's like 10 to 15 hours. But if you like the series and you like that kind of hack and slash stylish gameplay, it's really good at that.
Yeah.
Like Devil May Cry is good at being Devil May Cry, but because both of those are quite new, I definitely give them a bit of a wait and get Spider-Man done in the meantime.
Yes. There you
Spider-Man's
go.
the best one.
I hope that answers your questions for this week, guys. We're going to move on next to the YouTube comments. Ooh. And I've got a first one here from Cape Fury, which is on the last podcast. He says a question for the podcast specifically. So, what is your experience with VR? Does it make you vomit? Does it make your eyes sore? I really love your content. You're probably one of the channels that are the least toxic around. Well, that's very kind of you. We are you're so good. You're so very not toxic. You're so not toxic, guys. Well done.
Well, it doesn't say we're.
It's like the benchmark for like.
It doesn't say we're
game.
Not toxic. We're just the least toxic. We've got a little bit, just a smidge of toxicity.
I like that. That's the that's the measuring stick as to how good a channel is.
Yeah, to what extent are you toxic?
Yes, good on you guys.
What even was the question? Something about VR?
What's your experience with VR? Does it make you vomit? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It works good, and it's. I played a few games that were really good. I played a few games that are really shit. There's a lot of proof of concept. I think a lot of people are hyping the No Man's Sky next, because that's going to be a fully playable as well as multiplayer game in VR. You can do everything you can do in the regular game. It's just in VR. So it's not like a scaled down game. It's not a concept. It's a fully immersive, fully featured game that, well, you can call it fully featured now pretty much. But I don't know. I think it's for if you think you'll like it, you probably will. If you're a skeptic, you're probably not going to like it. You can get a great experience from it, but maybe 1 or 2 hours is the max. If you're a hardcore gamer, I don't think VR will ever appeal to you in the same way that regular games do, because you just can't blitz a game in VR, because it's just
your brain's not used to that.
My HTC Vive is really heavy, and it's like you get sweaty, and it's like this is uncomfortable after a while. So short stints in VR are the best, I think.
I've not played loads of VR, but when I have, I really enjoyed it, like conceptually, because there's this, where I live in Chester, there's this like VR studio, I guess you'd call it, where you can like pay a bit, and you can pay like an hourly fee, use the VR to do a bunch of different games. And I really like the less gamey ones, the more ones that are more like just experiences.
Yeah.
There's one, it's like underwater. You're on like a shipwreck and some fish going by and a big whale. A lot stuff like that's really cool. Well, your thing's blinking. I don't know if it stopped recording.
Don't worry, I sorted it from this side.
Nice one. So I think that was really cool. But yeah, you definitely can't play it for too long. But what was really fucking funny about it is because we did it with my I might have told you this before, with my stepdad on his birthday, and he's not a gamer at all. And I was like, we'll do this VR thing. It'll be pretty cool. Like it's something different. You've not really tried it before. And the guy who was like running it with us, he was like, who wants to go first? I was like, he can go first. It's his birthday. He's like, right, well, we're gonna do. I think it's called like the jump or the drop or something. And essentially, you walk, you go, you put your thing on, you walk into an elevator, you push the button, and he's like, oh wow, you actually have to move around and stuff. You go up the elevator, and then you're at the top of a skyscraper, and you got to walk off a plank. And he was not having it. he like literally back to the wall, like nope. Like, it's here, but it's not real. He's like, no, I can't do it. He was really freaking out.
Yeah.
So
face your fears, isn't it?
It's very like visceral. But then part of that plank thing is you jump off. You're meant to jump off because it really fucks with your head, and you instinctively like kind of drop, like try to catch yourself when you hit the ground. Because your brain thinks that's what's happening. It's very odd.
Sounds like a bad time for me. Did you do it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did it. I jumped to my death.
Hardcore.
I'm fucking hardcore.
No, but I did it. But you literally just go whoa, like when you hit the deck, even though you're not moving.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool.
Strange. Anyway, do you have a question? Sorry, a comment.
Yeah, I've got one here. It's from our recent video about the Jason Schreier Anthem article from Mike Riley. The Kotaku guy is the Nickelback of gaming. He's not the Bob Dylan of anything. Right, okay.
What, you mean his device? I mean, some people like Nickelback. What, you know, like, Nickelback are a meme, right?
Yeah, they are a meme. Like, I don't hate Nickelback. There's nothing, like...
It's just a meme, right?
It's just
funny.
like...
It's funny to rag on them, right?
Like...
It's not funny to rag on Jason Schreier so much, because what he's done today... I mean, regardless of how you think of all his past work, it's pretty good, right? Yeah,
like we said it earlier, you don't have to agree with his opinions on everything, but his work here is really fucking good.
Yeah.
And in terms of he's not the Bob Dylan of anything, I'm pretty sure we didn't say it. We said the article.
Yeah, this article was the Bob Dylan of gaming news articles. So watch the bloody...
Don't go misquoting.
Listen to our words.
Nickelback of comments, you little bitch.
Hey, at least if you're going to call us out on something, make sure you've actually listened to what the fuck we've said.
It just invalidates everything that you're saying when you get it wrong.
No, it's funny, though. It's funny. It's like somebody throwing shit with shit on their faces, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that was a good one.
Andrew Petto. I can't remember what this was. He says, glad I held back on this game. It looked good, but was worried about the end game content after Fallout 76. He's talking about Anthem again on the Anthem video. I actually love 76, but it was so mishandled in the beginning. Getting better now. Didn't want to have to deal with the same shit with another game. So the reason I've read this out is because although he likes 76, Fallout 76, he's still soured by that game enough to be skeptical about Anthem and not by Anthem, and then he's been validated by all this news that's come out that Anthem was a shit show. And I think that's interesting, the fact that he bought 76, but that even though he likes it, that was still a line for him, that going forward in future, games as a service, he's going to be very skeptical. And I think that this is maybe why less and less people, because the more and more shit shows that happen, the less and less people are willing to just go on blind faith and buy a game on day one.
Like, it's good to see that this guy's come from a place where he bought Fallout 76 expecting to like it. There were signs that it was probably not going to live up to it, and he obviously wasn't aware of those. But now he's learned. He's now informed that, I'm probably not going to take the same risks with Anthem, and it's paid off. So he's learned. He's learned.
Yeah,
I'm all for learning. Okay,
and it's not flip-flopping. It's called learning.
Education. Information for the nation. Right. So I've got one here from the Sekiro video about whether it's too hard for the entitled little journalists, you get paid to start that whole bloody thing again. You paid to get into the art gallery. You are entitled to complain that the art looks like ass, but not entitled to make the artist change their work. And I think that really sums up the analogy, because we sort of had the art gallery analogy, but this is a much more intelligent way of putting it.
It sums it up, right? You're entitled to voice your opinion, but you're not entitled to get any sort of change done, right?
Yeah, because their job, it's not job, but their wish, their desire is to make their vision in a certain way. Who are you to tell them that way is wrong?
That's it. Man, imagine somebody walking into a gallery and saying to Van Gogh,
"Yeah,
fucking what the fuck is this
fucking
piece of shit?
Sunflowers, what's that?
Fucking hell, man, this abstract bullshit. What the fuck, man? You want to do one that I'm gonna like? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's like
call yourself an artist."
I'm gonna go over and look at some Da Vinci paintings because they're real art.
Well, exactly. It works so well as an analogy. That anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on. Sorry to cut you off there, but Catfinder 3000. I like this. This is the Anthem video, right? There's no difference in perspective. BioWare is being a piece of shit. Jason did the absolute right thing. No debate. I think that's because in the script, it's a matter of perspective. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong thing? I think I said. And he says there's there's absolutely no difference in perspective. This is right. That's wrong. And no debate. I'm not sure that's how this works, Mr. Catfinder 3000. That's the...
we're now going to debate your idea that there is no debate.
The fact that there's an objective right and wrong anywhere on the internet is firstly an absurd proposition, dude. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like,
so
just think about it. You come somewhere and you say, this is the truth. This is the absolute truth because I think it. And it doesn't matter what people think. This is the truth because I think it. What? Just think about that, dude. It's what? It's just like lacking self-awareness is what it is. It's like there is no difference of opinion because in my opinion it's this. It's like you're defeating your own. Give me proof. Not just your opinion about why other people's opinions are invalid. You fucking idiots.
So I go on here and it sparked a little bit of a debate. There was a few different replies. And this was on last week's podcast. From Ryden Wolf. That's nice and all, CDPR. But does your new game have third-person option? Lazy much? You're turning into EA, I see. Now, that's just a fucking stupid opinion, right?
Before you go off, every time I see something that is as stupid as this, I always assume it's like a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I always assume it's someone who just doesn't have a grasp on the actual real world.
Like, okay, you might prefer third-person games. I prefer third-person games. But because CDPR, so CD Projekt Red, just to be clear, have made a creative decision, and they've even said it in, I think, the 40-minute gameplay preview. They said, we've chosen to go for first person because it gives us a level of immersion that third person doesn't offer, because in The Witcher, you're playing as Geralt. That's him. But in this, you're playing as V, and V is you. You're projecting what you want on V. You can make them whoever you want to be. Proper RPG. So being in first person allows you to do that because you're seeing through your character's eyes.
Yeah.
And this guy has just completely written that out as laziness because they couldn't be bothered to make it third person.
Yeah, it's using the analogy of artists in the art gallery again, right? It's like saying that Van Gogh is lazy for not painting the Sistine Chapel or whatever.
He's lazy because he didn't make his flowers look realistic.
Oh, because his creative vision or his creativity has sent him down a different path. He's lazy because he hasn't. Yeah. Again, it's this mass. He hasn't broadened his appeal to the masses again.
Everyone hated him.
It's not lazy. sir, especially since you haven't gone to the effort yourself to find out the exact reasons why they're not doing it in third person, which was a creative decision, which kind of implies that you're being lazy yourself by not doing your research. You absolute imbecile, or 13-year-old child. Use those two terms interchangeably, because you probably are both an imbecile and a 13-year-old child.
Van Gogh's iconic seminal painting of the night sky, where it's all swirly and the stars are all bright and windy. It's very fluid. That's so lazy because he didn't draw a star that actually looks like a white dot in a black sky. How lazy for not being hyper realistic. It's fucking stupid.
That's wound you up, hasn't it?
It really has. Because it's just representative of how so many people think. Like, it's not just this guy.
Well, I don't think that many people are that stupid, because that's a
unique breed of stupid, right there.
Yeah, it's not just a bad conclusion; it's just false premise.
It's bad science.
Yeah. It's not only like he's taken the information and come out with the wrong answer. He's thrown all the information in his head and he's come out with the wrong conclusion. It's not that. It's he hasn't put the information in his head to begin with, and he's made a huge leap of assumption and then come out with some explanation for the situation, which isn't anywhere near what the reality of the thing is. So anyway, it's just ignorance is what it is.
Dumb fuck.
Anyway, Viet Imports comments on the Jason Schreier one. I like this. I like it because it's spicy, right? I'm glad Jason Schreier is good at his job so YouTubers can leech off his work and stay in business.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's how it works, right?
Yeah, we leached to do one story in a 2 major story video with like about 9 nuggets. So that's like over 10 stories, but we're leeching for our entire YouTube career on this one article that is 11,000 words long that you probably haven't read.
Yeah, don't get offended by
I'm very offended.
Don't get defensive, dude. It's just a spicy. It's a spicy. I mean, there is some amount of truth in that, right? People make articles, which is generating news. We make videos based on the news that we read, or if we can't make news ourselves, we haven't got our own sources, whatever. This is how news works, right? And it happens not only on YouTube, it happens on like regular news, BBC, ITV, whatever newspaper you're reading. They all kind of find out a story and they off each other, kind of, sometimes, maybe, and then find the sources themselves and then report it. That's what we kind of do. In this specific instance, the sources are Jason Schreier's that he's spoken to Jason Schreier. So we can't go past the article and find the information firsthand, because that is the first-hand information. That's just how news works. And if it's leeching, by all means, call it leeching. And if we're doing it just to survive and stay in business, then so be it, because we got to pay the bills, damn it.
Strip of money just ain't covering it. It's just not doing it.
Strip of money ain't covering it. Nah. Neither is YouTube AdSense, for fuck's sake.
Okay, so I got one more here that I felt a few different things when I read it. From, again, it's on the Jason Schreier video, from HR616. I don't even, and haven't even played this game, so Anthem. I don't know why I keep watching these news videos giving clicks for topics I couldn't care less about. Must be your winning personalities, lol.
I like the lol. Yeah. I like the lol because he's it must be your winning personalities. Yeah. It's like that could be serious, but the lol implies that he's taking the piss, which is funny, right?
But I feel like it's winning personalities, lols. And you don't have winning personalities, but I like you anyway. Like it's I'm gonna say something so positive that's definitely not true. But yeah, you guys are.
Yeah, I love it. The sarcasm is real. I love it.
When I first glanced over it, I read it as must be your whining personalities, and I was like, we're not fucking whining. And I started whining in my head about this guy. And I'm like, hang on, I'm an idiot now.
You're new to YouTube, man. You don't half get triggered by these comments.
Oh, I really do.
I love it. Anyway, my very last one. I don't know if you have any more.
Nah, that's it.
Nick, and this is a bit, I don't know, Nick says, pretty good gaming, talking about the Anthem video that we did when we were complaining about making a video about another Anthem, another Anthem story, right?
There's a lot of these.
And Nick says, at Pretty Good Gaming, what was this disrespectful intro? This article brings justice to the abused devs that are still getting shit on. The higher-ups were the problem, and BioWare need to change. Depression is normal inside BioWare, and they give a shit about it, and so should you. I think this is a example of somebody getting offended on someone else's behalf, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing that we were being light and jovial about was the fact that, oh shit, we've got to talk about Anthem again, right? Yeah. It's another Anthem video, like turning it into a bit of a joke, right? There was no reflection at all, and under kind of mining the struggles that these devs are going through, and if anything, the whole video is covering it, signal boosts that message that these developers are having problems and helps them reach a resolution, because more people know about it, the more that BioWare have to do something about it. The fact that you can conclude that we're being disrespectful to the devs is such a logical leap. It's so ridiculous. Stop being offended by every single fucking thing. This guy's a professional offended person.
Yeah, professional victim.
Like, fucking hell. And it's not even him. If it was one of the devs, I could kind of see his point, right?
Yeah, because you'd naturally be on the defensive.
Yeah, maybe they could get offended for themselves, but the fact that this guy's getting offended on behalf of those devs, fuck off.
Yeah, he's just wrong. Like, it's not like we're sitting there being, depression is the massive epidemic and it causes millions of people to commit suicide every year, but we don't care because that's bullshit. Ha, lol. And we're like, Anthem again, because Anthem's in the news because we talked about it to fucking death. Who cares? Yeah,
who cares about Anthem these days? And then we go on to spend like 8 minutes or 9 minutes in the video talking in depth about the problems and
notice how we hadn't talked about the story yet. Yeah. So theoretically, if you only ever watch us for your gaming news, which I hope some of you do, you wouldn't know what the story is. So you would probably be like, oh, Anthem, here we go. And then you'd be like, oh, wow, this is actually a real problem. Yeah. But this person, I feel he's watched like 100 videos on it and he really knows. Yeah, he's taking it too seriously.
It was just a light-hearted joke about the fact that we were talking about Anthem again. And then they take it so seriously, and then he turns it into a big thing. People should just lighten up on the internet, like just lighten the fuck up. It's not that serious. I mean, you will get like anxiety, and you will get a heart attack, and you will probably die early if you're getting upset about this type of shit. And if you're getting upset with people having a joke on the internet, for fuck's sake, just stop it.
So I've just spotted one more comment here because I'd read it before and I was like, oh, that's quite funny. But no one liked it. No one seemed to get it. And it's on that Schreier video again by Eyes of Gehenna. I just want to know what's beyond Anthem, and it's beyond with a capital B. So I feel like that's a little joke about, because it's originally called Beyond, Anthem. But no one liked it. No one got it. And I was like, I mean, it's not super fucking clever, but I feel like you deserve a bit more, so I gave you a like.
You deserve a like from Henry.
I never like anything on YouTube. I never like anything.
But you like that one.
I liked that, so feel special, Eyes of Gehenna.
There you go. Mark of approval. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching the podcast this week and listening to us. If you're listening on the podcast services, Spotify or Castbox or whatever else, iTunes even as well, you can download a podcast there and subscribe to us on there if you wanted to. You don't just have to watch this on YouTube. And for those of you who like this content and do want to support us bringing this content, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, because I wasn't joking about the AdSense being not enough to survive, because without the patrons and without the support that we get of you guys, we simply wouldn't be here. So big thanks to everyone who does support us, and if you're considering doing it, we really, really appreciate it. Thanks for all your support, guys. So that's it for this week. We'll be back again next week. If you're watching this on Sunday on YouTube, we'll be back again tomorrow with a Monday news roundup, and then the podcast again will be back on Sunday, unless you're an early access subscriber for Patreon, and then you get them on Friday, because that's one of the awesome things that you get for being a supporter of ours. And that's it. I will stop talking. So on behalf of myself and Henry here, we will see you again next week. Until then, bye for now.